Welcome to Dolly Talk. This is Dolly. How is everybody doing today? I know, apparently I'm late. Didn't even get all that set up. God, 2 minutes for crying out loud. Technically one. I know, I'm ashamed. I'm ashamed. How are you, Louise? You're doing well. Pepita. Rad. I'm already yelling at chat. Yep. Hey, just wait till my sound messes up, then I'll really yell at all you. Oh, hey, Mads, you're here. How you doing? I think Scott's here. Paul, saw your stream for a bit. Pretty good. Looked like a fun game you were playing. What kind of streamer am I? Well, I don't give Coke to my children, so I think I'm ahead of the curve. All right. So if you guys go back to October, we had the wonderful Goebbels versus Hopkins defamation suit. And I didn't know anything going into it, except they were two rich, eccentric guys, and the developer of of Goebbels' property screwed him over and screwed Hopkins over in the process. And really through no fault of their own in the beginning, they both Goebel wanted a restriction on the deed saying that Hopkins, his neighbor, couldn't build there or build like right next to his property line. Hopkins thought he got the deed free and clear and could do whatever he wanted because it's his property. Well, it turned out no, there was a restriction on it. Hopkins is a bit passive aggressive, I would say. And it got ugly between the two neighbors. There's still another trial going on, but the first one happened in October. And I thought it was ridiculous, but the Goebbels won $4 million plus attorney's fees. I will just go ahead and pull up the feed here. This guy in the middle, Chuck Goebel, this lovely lady we found out has, I affectionately call her Low T Di, Diane. She suffers from low T, and unfortunately, the stress of the defendant Hopkins made her not able to perform her marital duties. So they weren't getting full use of their marital bed, let's say. She was dry. And defendant Hopkins tried to say that it was because of her low T and other issues. Goebbels tried to blame the defendant for the stress. And we're going to see today just how petty the Goebbels are going to get. And the funniest thing of all, and she, during the trial, if you remember, she would sit there just with this look on her face of just humiliation. Goebbels was acting a bit on the stand, if memory serves. Yeah. Yeah, that's our boy. Um, Now I went into this not really giving a damn about either of them. I don't have a dog in this fight. I will say that I think the 4,000,000 plus attorney fees is pretty absurd. I think they both kind of it got out of hand and they both had a part to play in it. Um, I've been going through oh crap, that's the wrong one. Shit. I've been going through the case files today. Um, a few days ago, Timothy Hopkins decided he did not like his lawyers anymore. Sad to say, he fired them. And we got a order granting motion of John C. Greiner and John C. Rice to withdraw his counsel. So as of now, Timothy Hopkins is pro se. He's going to look for a lawyer, but he hasn't found one yet. Um, I'm beginning to sense that Hopkins, who has had a lot of money at one time, is kind of half-assing this and trying to be cheap. Well, I know he is because he tried to file a motion before the first trial to have his out-of-state lawyer not need an in-state lawyer there at trial with him to try to save money. Doesn't work that way. Um, Today we had a sanctions hearing. What was sanctions for? Well, Hopkins isn't the most organized individual, and he's also very petty, which is a dangerous combination. So he was not turning over proper discovery in the proper way. He was also pro se through some of this process and used AI to write some of his filings and got called out for it. And the plaintiffs wanted him fined for that today. They go over attorney fees. Um, the infamous um, Grossman takes a stand to see what attorney fees he gets. Basically, they're all like vultures picking over a dead carcass at this point. And we'll play the hearing in a second. The I guess what I'll do is show some of the crap that's been filed. Like I'm on Hopkins' side, but the dude is not making it easy for me to root for him. I mean, I'm not really invested, but I just think he's kind of getting the raw end here after I watched the first trial. Um, and if you guys remember, Hopkins is the guy in the wheelchair with one leg because he had a knee replacement surgery and it got infected and they had to it off. So he's got all kinds of health problems. Oh, you're not invested? You sure about that? Well, I I'm getting more invested. Hey, did it wow? Grossman is popcorn worthy, quite possibly. Haven't seen him, but he's one of the few votes I disagree with now. Yeah, he, I think he is he was the original lawyer behind the Goebbels, and I think he had a big hand in instigating this entire fight, Paul. So, just real quick, the defendant filed a motion after the trial for ADA accommodations, and I think accommodations is misspelled unless I'm mistaken. No, that is right. Okay, never mind. Notice of attorney misconduct, request for sanctions, always good, federal referrals, and relief, including mistrial. Uh, he accuses the opposing counsel of misleading the court through misrepresentations, concealment of conflicts, and unethical conduct designed to harm defendant and distort the truth. Um, I have had someone reach out who apparently knows Grossman and does not like them in my comments, so it'll be interesting to see if they, watch this, but they've been kinda interested in the, trial from last month. Uh, Defendant is a disabled litigant who has consistently sought to participate fully and fairly in these proceedings. Opposing counsel, however, have demonstrated a pattern of misconduct, including submission of false information, misuse of confidential data, and attempts to manipulate evidence and testimony. No, it definitely wasn't you, Nidwau. I assume that's you because it's only showing me your YouTube name and not the normal name that you go by. Um, oh no, Hella, we got the hearing. Um, it's not very long, so I'm trying to, just go over some of the background first before we play it. And yeah, Nidwau, it's not you. The I've okay, it is Nidwau, great. Uh, they did make it some of the information they contacted, Hopkins, and he kinda posted some of their correspondence in these motions. So, I don't know, at this point, I'm just trying to, like, hopefully keep my channel out of this, but we'll see. Let's see. Basically, he's accusing the plaintiff's lawyers of lying and being deceitful with the court, which even if some of the information they ended up giving over was not true or was a mistake, that does not mean that it was done nefariously. And unfortunately, Hopkins is trying to cheap out, I think, and it's cost him a lot of money by going cheap. Uh, Anyways, let's just get to the hearing. One thing that was interesting is he asked the plaintiffs, I guess, to accommodate his disability. And the plaintiffs were like, one, we have no idea what he's even asking for us to do. And two, we are under no obligation to accommodate him under the American of Disabilities Act. That and my favorite part was he wanted Marcy's law, victims' rights. Yeah, Marcy's law, rights, and safety concerns, and he calls himself a documented crime victim. Well, it's a civil trial, not criminal, sweetie. Like, wha it w did he get amputated again? No, no, just his original disability, just the one leg that he's missing. Anyways, let's get this started. So you having Chat GPT write this again? Um, yes, I believe in the follow-up, the plaintiffs did accuse him of using AI for this. Oh, he was the one who was criminally prosecuted? Yeah. Yeah, so he wouldn't be the victim. Um, okay, so the heroes of our story, the Goebbels, are here. And if I'm correct, that is Grossman right there. Now, we waited for about 40 to 45 minutes. Um, and the defendant Hopkins never showed up. He never showed up to his own sanctions hearing. Yes, our boy did not show up to the sanctions hearing. And he also didn't let the court know he got a new lawyer. He didn't ask for a continuance. He didn't tell the court anything. Which is probably not a good idea. So he's still smarting after the loss from last month. Um, but they proceed kind of with the hearing, and they go over some stuff here. So we'll start that. And we'll see just how petty the plaintiffs can get. Oh, and Diane stole a water bottle as well from the court and put it in her purse for later.
Judge Robert Keeler presiding. You can be seated.
Her tax dollars at work.
There are two cases coming before the court. Case 23CV 9595.
Real quick, how do these mental midgets ever become rich? Charles Goebel was a dentist. He had his own practice before he got, I believe, sarcoidosis, autoimmune disease, and had to retire. Hopkins was a pharmacist, I believe, and he created some like pill packaging company that was really successful that Amazon ended up buying. So they ended up getting a lot of money for that. I move my face. Probably should.
59 and 21CV 94450. We're here for sanctions hearing.
There, like
Mr.
Wilson from Home Improvement.
Dr. Goebel and his wife are present, represented by Patrick Grody. The state is, I'm sorry, not the state. The defendant is not present and counsel has withdrawn in the matter. Mr. Grody, are the plaintiffs ready to proceed?
We are, Your Honor, but we're also here for attorney's fees as awarded by the jury in the 23 CV case.
Right. Well, Mr. Hopkins has.
Well, yeah, I was thinking of Charles Adelson, Dr. Nick.
Has not filed anything with the clerk of courts. He has sent documents
No motion
to
was
the
sent.
magistrate, basically, I think is where they were all directed. But there's been no request to continue the case. There's been no call or notification as to why Mr. Hopkins is not here, considering all the circumstances. I see no reason to do anything other than move forward.
I agree, Your Honor. I think that this hearing should be relatively brief. Mr. Grossman is here. He has some nominal fees in this case. The majority of his fees are in 21 CV. I believe we can have argument on sanctions. I will present or offer testimony to the court regarding my additional fees since my Lodestar affidavit and Mr. Lyons has submitted his Lodestar affidavit. Additionally, I will today ask to call Mr. Goebel. Mr. Goebel did bear some of the litigation expenses while Mr. Lyons and Mr. Grossman were representing him. We'll be asking simply for quantum merit. It's printing costs and ink costs that he bore in the cases that we'll be asking.
Okay, so they're asking for attorney fees for the plaintiff. And Hopkins lawyers, he hasn't found new ones. He is pro se at the moment. He fired his old attorneys when he lost, accused one of them of a conflict of interest, and afuera, out of there. So he's still looking for new attorneys, and apparently he thinks because he's looking for a new attorney, that means he doesn't have to show up to court.
We'll be asking simply for quantum merit. It's printing costs and ink costs that he bore in the cases.
Well, you say that,
we'll
Brad.
be asking for.
Okay, Brandy, I'm out of legal paths. Do you mind grabbing me?
Why don't you just charge Hopkins for that?
So plaintiffs would call their first witness, Thomas Grossman.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear from the testimony you're going to give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You can see that. Yep.
My tissue.
Do you have exhibit stickers?
I think she was afraid that if he used one of the tissues, he'd end up trying to charge Hopkins for it.
And Judge, for the purposes of this hearing, should I start over at plaintiffs one for this hearing?
Plaintiffs, yes, that's fine.
Okay. All right. Could you please introduce yourself for the record?
Yes, my name is Tom Grossman.
How are you involved with this case, Mr. Grossman?
The 95959 case. Or the
Correct.
945?
The 95959 case.
So I'm involved with the two cases in different ways, but involved in this case because Dr. Goebel I've been representing Dr. Goebel in the original case filed, and then in a subsequent case filed in an enforcement action relating to the 3961, the 20 CS 3961 protective order case. So I represent him in a lot of other matters. So on this matter, I was the one that discovered the freepurplelambo.com website, the postings on a Facebook page that was actually owned by and controlled by the Inquirer. And
so he's the one kind of behind this. When that one neighbor testified during the trial that he thought they were going to resolve everything. He thought they were going to come to a mutual agreement. Everything was going to be kumbaya galore. Well, this lawyer / politician gets involved, starts whispering in Goebel's ear, and all of a sudden he's making a shitload of money. And Goebels are now in a multi-year lawsuit over the stress. Because remember, the whole reason this whole thing started is because Goebels Chucky Goebbels was sick with sarcoidosis, and if he had any stress in his life, it was going to trigger his condition and he was going to die. So naturally, what he then decides to do, as one does when you need to avoid stress or die, is get into a half-decade long, drawn-out legal battle. 2 trials, actually, like 3 or 4, technically, if you include the original ones. And now he's back today, continuing it, getting ready for trial number 3 or 4. But second one that I've covered, it'll be the second one I've covered next year. Like, and not, well, that's not true. I think 1 or 2 of the jurors ended up contacting Hopkins and were like, yeah, this was really, really, really retarded. We really tried to push him to give you $1. And they ended up talking the jury down from like millions more. I went through all the court filings before this, and one of the jurors was like, yeah, they wanted over 10 million. So, not all of the jurors were assholes, but it's just, they didn't even like question the fact that he's trying to avoid stress, yet he's now in this legal nightmare.
And I discovered all of the postings on that by Mr. Hopkins, and I informed Mr. Goebel about that as well.
Let me ask you more directly. Did you represent the Goebels as an attorney?
Yes.
Did you have a fee agreement with them in that
Yes.
capacity? I'm approaching you with what's been marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 1.
Yes.
Is this that fee agreement?
Yes, that's the fee agreement we entered after the original case was settled, and they violated it by not cleaning up their yard properly. And then we filed a enforcement action because the judge had retained.
They didn't clean up their yard properly. Yeah. They violated it. Yeah. Good Lord.
Jurisdiction to enforce the original settlement agreement requiring him to clean up his yard and this garage that he started to do. And in addition, we filed the 94450 case
Sir,
to force that too.
not the question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What is your billable rate?
My billable rate is, we agreed on $500 an hour. And that's lower than my billable rate at Taft, which was $600 an hour when I left Taft in 2010.
Do you have copies of the exhibits for the court?
I do, Your Honor. I apologize, Your Honor.
Do you have, can you just give me a copy of all the exhibits you're going to be using, so I'll just have them for reference?
Yes, Your Honor. If I may,
Yes.
this is 2. And other than that, the remainder of the exhibits will be testimonial. Or the remainder of the evidence will be testimonial.
Okay.
Do you want me to make a copy or just put those copies?
Just make a copy if you need, Mr. Goebel.
I've got the first exhibit already.
Okay.
Marked as Plaintiff's Exhibit 1.
Okay, go ahead, since that's what you're testifying on.
Of course. The billable rate was $500 an hour, you said?
Yeah, we agreed that if I was to be paid prior to the conclusion of all the cases, it was $500 an hour. And that's the case today.
Did you keep record of the hours that you billed in this case?
Yes, I did.
Have you submitted that to me?
Yes, I have.
All right, I'm approaching you with what's been marked as Plaintiff's 2.
I didn't bring in like a huge filing cabinet.
And that's just the fees for the 95959 case.
Could you please explain to the court what that is?
So I kept my time as I was incurring it relating to the defamation and emotional, and
How much you want to bet he's going to charge Hopkins for the time it takes to testify in court about how much money he's supposed to get from Hopkins?
potential infliction of emotional distress claims. This is related to that time only. And which the result that was ultimately brought in the 95959 case.
What is the total amount that you billed in that case?
So I had 21.5 hours in this at $500 an hour, which is $10,750. But I did not include the 2 times that Dr. Goebel and I went to visit with Todd McMurtry, which was about 4 hours total. We had 2 times that we met with him, and that I've not included here, but you could add another 4 hours to this. But other than that, this includes all the time that I spent related to the defamation and the intentional infliction of emotional distress. So this is it.
Nothing further from the plaintiff, Your Honors, if there's any direct from the court.
I have a question. Are any of these hours, because there's nothing here showing a total or the amount for each, but are any of these hours you're asking to be reimbursed for, or the plaintiffs are,
When you were on the toilet?
time that you spent on the document you filed with the Supreme Court to have me removed from the case?
Oh! He tried to have Peeler removed. I got to hear that again without me talking. Oh my God, that was great.
Because there's nothing here showing a total or the amount for each, but are any of these hours you're asking to be reimbursed for, or the plaintiffs are, time that you spent on the document you filed with the Supreme Court to have me removed from the case?
No.
Okay. All right.
No, I'm not going to charge Hopkins for that. No, that would be too much, Your Honor.
That's all I have.
No redirect and nothing further for this witness, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Yeah, Grossman is really. Ugh.
And then the plaintiff would call Dr. Charles Goebel.
All right.
Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you are about to give in this case to be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
You can be seated.
Sir, for this record, could you please state your name
Charles Goebel,
and your address?
4171 Maxwell Drive, Mason, Ohio, Warren County.
And again, for the record, how are you related to this case?
The plaintiff?
Okay. Dr. Goebel, over the course of this case, were you asked to incur some costs in the prosecution of this case?
Yes.
Did some of those costs include printing?
Yes.
This motherfucker's really going to be asking for ink. I had to go to Staples and get a 500 pack of white paper, and I had to get some ink because my cartridge, I hadn't used my printer in a while, and it dried out, so I had to get some new ink for it. Ugh.
Did you collect those printing costs prior to this hearing today?
I did not.
You may have
Did
lost
you present them to me?
Yes.
All right. Was that total $7,840.60 to the best of your recollection?
Yes.
Jesus Christ. Where the hell are you buying your ink from? Rolex? My God, dude. You just got a $4 million judgment, and now you're trying to get him to pay for paper and ink? And how's it? Yeah, for ink. How's his anxiety disorder going for him? Yeah, this heifer, the plaintiff wants almost $8,000 for paper and ink. Because the lawyers apparently weren't the ones printing stuff, so they didn't have the cost for that. It was all him.
Could you explain to me how you incurred those costs?
Gosh, can you hear me? Okay, thank you.
Yeah, leave it alone.
How I incurred the cost. Anytime there was something that the attorneys told me they needed copies of, if there was a transcript from a deposition that we needed copies of for exhibits, the exhibits themselves, we had to make copies for the court, for the plaintiff, for the, and sometimes two for the, and sometimes two for the defendant for whatever reason. But commentary, just this case should have, in my opinion, my Hewlett Packard printer.
Okay. In addition, did you incur costs purchasing materials on Amazon?
Oh, absolutely. The inkjet print, the ink, if you would, for the printer.
Okay, so $8,000 of Amazon ink and paper.
Was quite expensive. But just, yeah, regular office supplies to answer your question.
All right. Was that, did you collect that
Oh,
total?
guys,
prior-
okay, my mistake, guys. It was not just paper and ink. Because that would be silly. $8,000 of paper and ink would just be absurd. No. It was also office supplies. So I imagine pens, paper clips, staplers, staples, little Post-it notes. Yeah, Post-it notes too. Of course, can't forget those. And he had to purchase different colors, I'm sure, to, color coordinate stuff. And you need those paper clips now. Boy, that stuff adds up. But you can get a printer with unlimited ink. That's just silly. Well, yeah, but if you're really trying to be petty and want to screw the defendant, then you want to spend as much money as possible to try to stick it to him. Legal pads. Oh, my mistake. Those add up. You can get them at Walmart for like, $1. So those add up.
Prior to coming to court today?
No, sir, that's included in that figure.
Did you forward that to me?
Yes, sir, I did.
All right. To the best of your recollection, is that $3,142.69?
Correct.
Okay. Could you just very briefly describe to the court the categories of supplies that you purchased on Amazon and why they were necessary for the case?
The answer to that simply is that anything we needed to produce exhibits for the court in this long drawn out legal matter, I bought from Amazon so that I could produce these documents for Attorney Lyons, just to get them done. Just yes.
Okay.
So the lawyers are, I guess, trying to save money. And instead of having paralegals do the printing or the interns doing the printing, I don't know, maybe they were afraid if they got some interns or paralegals, they'd sexually harass them at the law firm. So instead they decided to have Chucky Goebel do the printing and all the internee and paralegal work for them. And I guess they could sexually harass Chuck if they wanted to.
Nothing further from the plaintiff if the court has questions.
No, I don't think I have any questions on this.
That's a good point.
Nothing further.
Okay.
I have, you can step down. The Hammer firm has additional billed hours since submitting the affidavit. I can either testify to them or just read them into the record.
Do you have any precedent for awarding cost of printing and other matters associated with litigation?
Judge, there's there's a case, and I had it written down and left it. There is a case, and I'm sure the magistrate could find quite quickly, or I could submit, that says that all ordinary costs of litigation are recoverable. We're not arguing, I'm not going to argue to this court that all of the $7,000 should be recoverable. However, the reality of the matter is that the Lyons firm and Tom Grossman have submitted no costs associated with their litigation, and there's a reason for that. It's because they pushed it off onto Dr. Goebel. So I would simply ask for quantum merit recovery in the case. I believe there's been roughly 1,000 pages filed on the docket. 10 cents a page would be a reasonable recovery. I simply promised the plaintiff that I would submit those costs because they were actually borne in the prosecution of this case. And again, I can supplement the record or provide to the magistrate case law that says that costs are recoverable as attorney's fees. It is certainly up to the court whether or not attorneys pushing costs off onto the client becomes recoverable.
Okay. Next.
For our costs, we have incurred an additional $5,131.25 since our Lodestar affidavit. That is exclusive of the 21 CV billing, which I have split as best I could. It is exclusive of preparation for today and today. I would ask for recovery of some amount. I expect it will be roughly 6 hours at my regular rate of $200. Well, my regular rate is $300 an hour, Judge, but as is represented in this case, $225.
Okay.
Oh,
The fees that were submitted are the fees for both cases for the Hemmer firm. Because of the way that they came in, they have not been split. I went through to the best of my ability and attempted to tease out entries that were relating to 21 CV 94450. Ultimately, there's a summary judgment entered in that case for breach of a settlement agreement, and in a breach of a settlement agreement, attorney's fees are compensatory damages in the case. So I think that this question is somewhat meaningless. However, by my estimation, 12% of our fees submitted to the court are in relation to 21 CV 94450, and 88% of that is related to 23 CV 95959. Accordingly, pursuant to the jury's verdict, I would request $147,705.80 plus the $5,131.25 since my Lodestar affidavit, for a total, don't mean to throw too many numbers at you at once, Judge.
Okay, it's fine. Go ahead.
For a total of $152,837.05 plus $6,154.88 in costs.
Okay.
Mr. Lyons submitted his Lodestar affidavit. That has not changed. It is I can give you that number here if you'd like.
Sure.
$24,095 even.
Did he ever appear in this case?
He did. He filed a complaint in this case. He was the initial attorney before our office was contacted.
Okay.
He appeared at least once jointly with myself and Todd as we were transitioning to take over the case as well.
Okay. Any other witnesses?
No other witnesses, Judge. I suppose we could hear argument on sanctions or submit, whichever you would prefer.
Go ahead and with anything that you want to add or submit on that yourself.
Judge, all I would point out is that most of the sanctions cases for misconduct during a case involve award of attorney's fees for prosecuting. The defendant obviously has been ordered to pay attorney's fees in this case. I think some kind of sanction is still relevant for the behavior. However, whether that be a fine to the court or a nominal fine to indicate that he has been sanctioned for the use of AI filings, I think is relevant for the future of this case, as well as for the clarity of the record.
Oh, God, this
Okay, you requesting anything in particular?
Judge, anything that I argue on the sanctions for a particular dollar amount, I'm afraid will be taken out of our attorney's fees award, and I would rather that award be clear. So I'd ask for perhaps $1,000 sanction for the behavior.
I have not read the affidavits.
Okay.
Are you off?
like he's literally trying to get sanctions on Hopkins, who is not a lawyer, because he did a shitty job representing himself, and turned to the internet and AI for help, which is a dumb thing to do, and that's why he needed a lawyer. But to then penalize him because he messed up, like, it is so petty and just vindictive. And it's really annoying Hopkins didn't show up today and actually try to defend himself, because a lot of this is just so petty and absurd. Like, they are really trying to just feast on his carcass at this point.
Offering any evidence of the reasonableness of the fees. Mr. Grossman referenced his being 100 less than when he was with the firm, the Taft firm. But as far as reasonableness of the fees.
I've submitted my affidavit of other fees in the area. I would submit to the court that our regular rate is, my rate is $300 an hour. Mr. McMurtry's is $500 an hour. We turn away cases at that rate. We also, this is a contingency case. The fee agreement is for 16.5% of the recovered amount. Our hourly rate is eminently reasonable. Trying a case for $225 an hour is an excellent rate by any metric in any jurisdiction. Certainly compared to the other rates submitted in this case, that is, Mr. Lyons submitted a rate of $300 an hour, which is reasonable. Mr. Grossman submitted a rate of $500 an hour, which, considering his case did not include a contingency award, is reasonable. I have no independent analysis of the reasonableness of the fees other than the other fees in this case, my affidavit, and the court's knowledge of fees in the area.
Okay. All right. We'll take it under advisement.
I do, while we're on the record, we have a jury trial set for March that we may have to move or enter a motion to move. With the defendant making himself unavailable, I would just like to know how the court would like to address that. Should I?
Do you have more discovery to take or anything else to do on the case other than?
No, Mr. Goebel informed me prior to setting the trial date that he was out of town from the end of February, from the middle of February to the middle of March, and we set it directly during a time that he's out of town.
Smooth.
I would just ask that we move it earlier or a little bit later, and I'm happy to do that by motion and give the defendant time to be heard. I would just like to know how the court would like to do that now that the defendant has made himself unavailable.
Well, I don't want to just assume he's going to be unavailable for that trial, but this trial date was agreed upon by counsel.
It was, and it was my error, Judge. It was Dr. Goebel informed me that he would not be available. I failed to recall that I knew that he'd be unavailable in February, but I failed to recall that he would be unavailable in the middle of March.
Okay, that happens. I just take into consideration, I'd really like to see this come to a conclusion. And we are setting cases out, how far? Civil cases?
April?
April? That's not that bad. Okay, I'll look at that.
Should I just submit a motion and notice it for a docket?
You can submit a motion, and if she'll contact you if it's going to be set for hearing.
Understood. Thank you, Judge.
Okay.
Anything else from the plaintiff?
You're asking me that?
Yes, would you,
Oh,
anything else that you would like from us, Judge?
just, that's all that you've offered. That's fine with me as far as what you choose to offer. Okay?
Thank you,
All
Judge.
right, thank you.
That's not okay. Judge, are we
Tracy.
still on the record? Are we on? Okay. I have one.
I need to
logistical
ask about my
question.
client's paper
The
clips.
briefing deadline for the damages caps for Mr. Hopkins is tomorrow. We are obviously interested in having a judgment entered quickly, and in service of that, we will have our response ready to file by Monday. He'll have his time, but we would request that whatever judgment on attorney's fees and whatever judgment on damages caps is entered, that whatever we need to do to expedite that, if the court staff could communicate with us to let us know.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. All right, that's all. We're adjourned.
Wow. Okay. So that was infuriating, but there we go. It was a short hearing. The defendant never showed up, so we just went ahead with the sanctions hearing and the attorney costs and costs the plaintiff spent to get reimbursed. Right now it's set to go, the next hearing is set to go forward in March, but that sounds like it's going to be canceled. So the probably April, but maybe further out, depending if Hopkins can get a new attorney soon, get him up to speed. Who won? Goebbels, definitely. Yeah, we really don't know yet. Excuse me. I did find a transcript of the defendant's deposition. I want to see if I can try to get the video of it, because Hopkins is kind of pissy, and you can't really hear the inflection in a transcript. No, you didn't miss too much. No, not yet. We'll be ending in a second, but we just went over a sanctions hearing because the defendant wasn't very good about discovery. Go figure. He's currently representing himself, but he's trying to find a new lawyer, supposedly. So hopefully we'll find out more. I'll be keeping an eye on the docket, though, and see. The deposition is like, yeah, it's over like 100 pages, I think. Sorry, 180 pages. Yikes. So you probably had to pay Goebbels to print that out. That was probably like $18. I mean, this has been going on since like 2020. So 5 years of this. But hey, Nothing stressful about a trial. Ah. Why am I so tired? God, sorry. Next, we are going over to. Oh, yeah, it'd be 1400 per Goebel's maths. I'm sorry. Why would I yawn in your face? I know. I'm a bad streamer. We will be going over to Excited Utterance. She starts in an hour and 15 minutes. Well, yes, I have considered the Ricada solution. Probably wouldn't be good for my budget, though. I'll just stick with caffeine. So thanks, guys, for being here. This was fun, and I shall see you guys over at Excited Utterance. You'll be redirected, and that should start in about an hour. Bye.